time for another episode of On Isles Time. Brendan Yerkes, Cole Healy here again as another interesting 2 weeks for the Islanders. They went 3-1 in their last 7 games, and coming off of a huge 5-0 win against the Rangers Saturday night. So the vibes are high, but it's seemingly every other game they win, they lose, they win, they lose. But the Islanders, as we said last time, they're fun again. So that's what we're looking at right now.
Yeah. Again, you obviously would like to see more wins. I feel like everyone's looking for wins, but the games are more entertaining than past years. You got more stuff going on, and yeah, I mean that was expected. You didn't really know what you're going to get with this team, and I think the results are reflecting that. But it's worth tuning in every night. So it's definitely, as we've said a million times, I feel like it's a change. It's definitely a change.
And we're going to break down the last 2 weeks of Islanders hockey as we're recording today on November 10th. So the Islanders take on the New Jersey Devils in just a few hours from now. So this will probably come out during that game. So just a disclaimer on the time. And before we get going and recap those last 2 weeks, we want to thank everybody that's been tuning in and listening to the podcast. It's been doing well, and that's thanks to all of you. So we appreciate that. And make sure to follow us on our social media channels for more surrounding the show at On Isles Time, ONISLESTIME, on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well at On Isles Time, and then follow us, or at least go to listen to the podcast on Apple or Spotify. Let's get into it. I think the big thing was last Saturday, like I said, the big win over the Rangers. They still haven't won a home game yet, and it just felt good after losing all 4 games to the Rangers last year. And yes, we're going a little out of order here on the games, but that's top of mind right now. Just complete domination. I mean, at times it seemed like the Rangers were controlling play, obviously the beginning, but at the end they were too, but the game was kind of out of reach at that point. But to be able to hold on and get the shutout, I think is my favorite part of that win, because the Rangers obviously struggling at home, struggling to score, which is fun, but I just think partially that, and it's funny a little bit, but more so that Ilya Sorokin got that shutout, and I think that's so huge. And he's now tied for second with 23 shutouts in Islanders history, 2 more to tie the first place, which is crazy already, because I feel like in the beginning he was getting shutouts like at least once a month. It was pretty often.
Oh yeah.
But that was the best part to me. The save number ended up going up. He had to make a few big ones in that game. I mean, yeah, the Islanders were the better team and scored a decent amount of goals, but the Rangers had some good looks, squeezed in between all that. And Sorokin had to stand tall. He kept that game tied in the beginning, allowed the Islanders to score first off the rush, and then throughout the night making big saves. And in his last, I would say 3 or 4 performances, he's looked really good. So that's, I think, the most important thing with the way the Islanders have played in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't know the exact stat off the top of my head, but I saw something on Twitter the other day about just his stats since the goaltending coach changed. Again, obviously you have Sergei Naumov, so he's the guy he's familiar with. He had that great game in Washington, where he only gave up that 1 goal. And then obviously MSG got the shutout. Had that shootout loss against the Bruins sandwiched in between there. But even then, he made some big saves there. A couple of those goals are just bad bounces. He's definitely started to look like himself again. And yeah, like you said, he's like he used to be. It seemed like every month he's having 1, if not 2 shutouts, right? Obviously, not expecting that out of him. But he's been very solid in the last 2 weeks, starting to look like himself again. And yeah, if he can just stay like this, that's going to be huge for this team going forward. Because when he goes, the rest of the team goes. So if you get, maybe every once in a while, right, he doesn't have a great game, kind of has a game kind of like how he started the year out. It's like, okay, whatever, you're going to get those. But to see these, like just going on the road, the Islanders hadn't won a game at MSG in 3 years. Like it was that game where he made that crazy paddle save on Panarin. That was the last time the Islanders won a game at MSG. And for him to go in there, going against his good buddy Igor Shesterkin, and pick, I think it was a 33 save shutout. That's just huge, just to see out of him, to see if he's still got that type of performance in him. And then it's just big for him. You get that confidence up, and then just gotta hope he kind of just keeps going with that moving forward.
That Washington game was so important just because they came off the ugly loss to Carolina the night before, where they really got outplayed the entire time. I mean, they ended up scoring a couple goals, but they went down 3-0 pretty quickly in that first period, and that was Riddick in that game. But the next night, playing a team in Washington that won the division last year, that has been, I guess, okay, you could say, to start this year. Not great, but not bad by any stretch. And they went in, and it was a close game. They were down, they tied it up, but then in the third period, they were able to squeak it out, score a goal, and then they ended up getting the empty netter and took that one. That was a nice steal on the road, and they kind of took that into the next week where they didn't win every game, but they had some good showings. And obviously, the Minnesota game last Friday was ugly. Everything that happened in that game, they fell behind, and it just nothing was clicking from the start. It's having trouble with passes, but again, with that, the next day they go into MSG after an ugly game like that, and just all hands on deck. Everybody dug in, and everybody played a role in that win, and they dominated the Rangers. So it's the bounce back that's huge there.
Just being able to respond there. Obviously, Sorokin's a big part of that game, but just seeing everyone else, like everyone else was clicking. Like I think it was JT Miller after the game was talking about how I'm sure they're using actual stats for this, but just how they're like the best rush team or the best team off the rush in the league. Again, I don't know if that's pulling from an official stat or if that's just kind of what they've seen.
I feel that way too, honestly. I mean, what do you think? I mean, how many times we've seen Heineman with Horvat,
Yeah,
Barzell setting him up, Pajot and on the rush? Like they're scoring that way, and it's different than what we've seen. They used to have to like just do so many things and work so hard just to score one goal. Now it seems like off the rush, it's coming easy.
yeah. You're so used to just seeing those greasy goals just right in front, which obviously those are still important, right? You're still going to get those, but like yeah, they're just finishing. They're capitalizing on their chances so much more than they have in past years. But they're also just getting more chances. Like they would never get these chances off the rush. And a lot of that is because of what Matthew Darsh is doing here. Obviously signing a guy like Drew and bringing some speed in there. You got Duclair back healthy. He's feeling good. You got Heineman. He can move. He was, Darsh wanted him, so like he needed to have him as part of that Dobson trade, and we're seeing why now. And I think the Islanders they're the first team to have, what was it, 8 guys with 10 points, 10 guys with 10 points, whatever it is. They
That's
have the
hard
most
to
in the league.
believe after the way
Yeah, like
things have gone.
you think about last year, how like they had to work so, like you said, they had to work so hard to just get 1 or 2 goals, and now yeah, they have more guys with 10 points than any other team in the league, and that's just shows you what this new era of Islander hockey is about, and then just gotta hope they build off of that in the future.
Right. I mean, it still happens where they'll have like a great shift or a few minutes where they're like, "Oh, we're about to score." The Islanders are about to score. Then puck goes the other way and it ends up in their own net. That's bad luck. It happens pretty often. But just I think the identity is now finally starting to shift. Not that this matters really, but just the way that it's perceived around the league, and I think by other fans is I think that now that we're about a month into this season, I guess exactly a month in the day of recording, as the ninth was the first game of October. So the perception is changing that the Islanders are fun again. Maybe they're not the best team, but they're playing with pace. They have goal scorers, and they're playing in exciting games. They're putting up points. It's not all 3-2 and 2-1. They're scoring goals at a higher clip. And now sometimes it'll go dry and they can't score and they end up falling behind. Like when they lost to Minnesota, they only scored 2 and they were behind in that game. But you're seeing that offensive ability, and it's being led by Bo Horvat, who we said after the first week of the season, if they're going to do anything, he needs to step up. What does he do that next game? He had that hat trick against Edmonton, and since then, it's been just he's been a beast. And my favorite part about seeing Bo Horvat, who now has 11 goals on this season, is he's finally getting the respect he deserves, I think, from Islander fans because we traded for him, and he didn't have the best start to his Islanders tenure. In the playoffs, he was kind of a ghost. But then that next year, he was really good. And then you saw it again last season where flashes of what he could do. And now this year, it's still only a small sample size, but he's fully unleashed. And I've been saying, obviously it's different with Schaefer here now, but other than Schaefer, Bo Horvat's the best player on the team. And I think that gets overlooked very often. People don't think that he is as good as he is. And I'm not going to go out and say he's elite because he's probably not like a one center on like a championship team. He's probably like a 1B more than a 1A, but still a tremendous player. He can score. He's passing. He does it power play, penalty kill. He does it all, and it's just been a sight to see how good he's actually been. And he's really been the one propelling this team. And you could see he has a letter for a reason.
Definitely, yeah. And like there were times last year. Obviously, Barzell only played 30 games last year, right? It seemed like Horvat just couldn't score without Barzell. Like and he was getting chances, just couldn't finish, right? And then going back to being able to finish this year, like just I mean, definitely him, but just everyone overall. Like him and Heineman have been great together. There's been some change with the lines, but that's been consistent, that Horvat and Heineman connection. And so I think that is definitely helping Horvat out a lot. And yeah, like you said, like he's second in the league in goals right now with 11. I think Saturday night when he had those 2 goals, he was tied for first with I think it's Crosby and Cutter Gauthier. Yeah, so we're really starting to see Bo Horvat at his best. And yeah, like you said, he was okay when he came here. That first season. Obviously, Barzell got hurt that year too, so after that injury, his numbers declined. But he was getting the chances, and yeah, like he's just such a solid player all around. Like Barzell, obviously, he's got that offensive, that flash, right? And he's not bad defensively. But Horvat is exactly what you want in a guy who's going to be your top center. Again, like you said, other teams, he's probably not their top center. Some of the teams are close to contention. But for this team, he is the guy right now. And yeah, I mean the numbers are showing it. He's just been so good. He's stepped up like he's needed to. I think he's had now what 3 multi-goal games. He had that hat trick. I think he's had 2 goals twice.
And I think the craziest stat with his scoring is that the Islanders have 7 wins this year, and he scored in all of them,
Yeah,
which is insane. So I don't know how long that's going to continue.
yeah. We'll see. We'll see. Another. Well, who could get? What's on? What are we, in November now? What is that? Another five
November, yeah.
months? There we go. 5 months. Keep that streak going.
Yeah.
Better
Well,
record.
when the Islanders were on the power play the last 2 years, all they wanted to do, you could see it, especially when Barzal had the puck. They wanted to squeeze it to Horvat in the low slot right in front of the net, and he tried to get that one timer in. And it's a tremendous shot when they would pull it off. But that was like they were like a one trick pony on the power play. And now we're seeing all kinds of plays. They're skating around, and even when the power play doesn't score, like aside from the bad one here and there, which is going to happen, the power play just overall looks so much better. And they're generating chances, and I guess it also includes having more dynamic players, like the Barzell injury, affecting it last year. Now you have Jonathan Drouin and Anthony Duclair, like you mentioned before. But that third goal against the Rangers was just Drouin is just all alone in front. And I think everybody was confused. I mean, I wasn't even I wasn't even screaming saying like shoot the puck because you were right in front of the net. I was more so like confused like why he wasn't shooting the puck because it
Yeah,
was clear look, but then he drops it back to Horvat, and then just bam, it was in the net. Like you can't even see the puck go in. It was insane that
yeah. Like
goal.
I think
But
I think Horvat
what a
said
feed.
they asked Horvat after the game, like, what were you thinking when Jerome passed? And he's like, why did he pass that? Or like, why didn't you shoot it? Like he's saying that's what his thought. And yeah, like you said, everyone thought he was gonna rip that. And it's like, yeah, like he didn't have a lot to shoot at, but still, you always see guys just throw it on and then hope a rebound pops out and someone can bury that. And yeah, he hesitates, drops it back between the defender's legs. Horvat finishes it right away. And yeah, like they're the last couple of years, the Islanders would get a power play, and every single time a penalty was called, you can go on Twitter and see Islander fans saying decline the power play because
Two
that's
minutes
just
off the clock.
how bad it was. And now, yeah, they're not scoring every power play, right? No team does, but you feel so much better about it. They're getting their chances, they're getting looks. Even if it's not 2 minutes of sustained pressure, they're getting way better chances than they have in the past. And yeah, like Horvat is, man, he's finishing on his chances, and he's been a huge part of that. But yeah, also just having guys that are moving around. Barzell and Schaefer are always kind of moving around, and that opens up space for Horvat to. I feel like he's gotten more of those opportunities in that bumper spot because teams have to worry about these other guys more. Like it's not only Horvat now, like you mentioned, they have more dynamic players, better power play players, and that's just it's so much. It's such a change from last year. You give us league average special teams last year. The Islanders are a playoff.
Playoff team.
We've said that multiple times, and now again, they don't have an amazing power play, but it's way better than what we're used to. And again, it's getting more into that average category, which who knows? Maybe that's the difference between sneaking into a playoff spot.
Yep. We didn't even mention Schaefer being in the back end. Like, Drouin and Duclair as forwards, but now you have that dynamic defenseman that can not only be at the point, and we've seen him pinch a million times. He'll be at the point, give and go, switch, and he'll just be on the half wall. He'll be in front of the net. He'll be behind the net. He's all over that offensive zone. I mean, even when it's even strength, but especially on the power play, he's moving around all over the place. And that's generating goals, and we've seen him do it. And just like the crazy game in Columbus, which I didn't even bring up yet, where the Islanders were down with, I guess, 67 seconds left. They were down, so I guess I had to do that. But it's true. There were 67 seconds left when they scored to tie the game up. It looked like Lee. It was Schaefer. 2 goals in that game. Which, of course, I'm always at the games when things don't happen. I missed that one. I was away for the weekend, but I was watching the third period. And so that happens, and that was awesome. And then just the lucky bounce, Holmstrom banging that other one in the net, and just all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is a game the Islanders played were the better team, had more chances, definitely should have won, and one of those losses where you would have been like, this is frustrating, this is 2 points that we're not getting, which you felt like there were a lot of those the last 2 years, and they found a way with some puck luck, of course, the puck hopping around and just getting through Merce Lakens, but finding a way to get that one absolutely awesome, and the crowd was pretty electric for that one.
Revenge for the overturned goal against Palmieri last year, or
No,
the
we like that call.
yeah, that is true. That is true. Just like the 9-4 or the 9-2 game against the Rangers last year got some. We got our guy now. We got our guy now in Schaefer, so we can go back on those and pick
Well,
up
this
the.
episode is lucky number 13, like the last ping pong ball.
There you go.
So
Tying everything together here, and yeah, just going back to Schaefer, like I feel like we say the same thing every time, but he just looks. He's getting more and more comfortable. I feel like we've seen less of those end to end rushes. I feel like that first week or so, it was like every time he's just going coast to coast, and it's like he can. He's capable of it still, obviously. But you see him just kind of adjusting to the NHL speed. You know what you're gonna get. Maybe he's putting a little more. He wants to be a little more defensively responsible. He kind of wants to save those rushes for when they need a goal. Maybe third period down a goal and maybe tied. He wants to save that for when it matters, rather than just flying up. I feel like you see him flying up the ice, right? There's been times where I just think he's gonna get hurt because just again just
get like sideswiped or something.
yeah, just the injury Ives in the World Juniors last year, right? He goes crashing into the post on one of those rushes. Like I don't know, I don't know what it is. I'm just like expecting. I don't know. There's just times where he goes up, he's just going so fast. Someone
Right.
bumps
Maybe the
him
coach
over
just
an
told
edge,
him
and
not to, or like to slow it down, because it's like there's times where it's good, and like that overtime against Boston, he did
oh
like
my,
two or
yeah,
three, or I think that maybe one of the or two of them was in regulation. He goes through like two
yeah,
guys
like
and
the
you know,
last play of
tries to
regulation.
stuff it, and I was like, oh, that would have been awesome. But yeah, I think slowing it down is probably not the worst thing. Do it a couple times a game, but don't overwork yourself.
Yeah, but yeah, like there's really not much new to add to him. Like he's been so good. It's the same thing we've been saying since that his first game. He looks so comfortable. He's producing. I mean, he's got 5 goals already. I think 3 on the power play. Um, got
You know
one in
what stands out
Carolina.
to me, and I know you had to slip the coast to coast in there
Of
as a
course.
reference to your podcast from like 10 years ago. But to the points have slowed down, like you said, right? 5 goals, 6 assists. He still has 11 points in 15 games, which I would have signed up for that a million times before the season because I didn't even expect that. But the last few games, it hasn't been putting up as many points as he has. At least the pace of obviously the first 6 games. But I think in those games, you're seeing that maturity happen even faster than we thought in his game because I think he's been better defensively. Like we saw him get walked in the game against Carolina. That's going to happen. That could happen to any defenseman. You've seen it happen to Cale Makar. Like all the best defensemen in the NHL have those moments where they'll get walked here and there. It's just the players are too good. It's going to happen. But you're seeing a lot of good pinches, a lot of good physicality. He's stepping up on the rush and just good stick checks, those defensive plays, good positioning, like the switches in the zone, these things that are more challenging for a younger player to see early on in his career. Because, yes, the offense is easy. A lot of these guys can come in and score points like this, but he's good defensively, and that's what's getting better, while the points are still there coming. So that's what I'm happy about the most with him.
Definitely, yeah. And then he's just so, you saw him that interview on TNT back on last Wednesday night. They had him on. I don't know what game it was, but yeah, they brought Schaefer on before the game. Um, yeah, he's comfortable on the ice. He's very comfortable off the ice, as we saw. Kind of chirping Henrik Lundqvist there, chirping Biz again, of
That was
course.
awesome.
Um, yeah, just so good to see. He's enjoying himself. He's embracing the life he's got now. Again, playing great. Just again, we've said it the last 2 episodes. Gonna say it again. Way better than I think anyone really thought he'd be by this point.
Woohoo!
Yeah, there you go. Two great post game interviews with Shannon too. It's like we have our guy. We have our our franchise cornerstone.
And the funny thing
And
is, if you backtrack to the first episode, we were like, he's gonna make mistakes. If he gets out of game here and there, it's a good thing. Well, he's played all 15 so far, so
I don't think
I don't
he's.
know if that's happening.
I don't.
Maybe it's a long season with the Olympics and stuff. And you remember, like all the things that we said, like are kind of become funny now. But we were just playing it safe, obviously, with him being young, and it's still a long season. Like there's a lot of back to backs. The Olympics takes a big chunk out, so there's going to be a lot of games in tight windows. But remember, I had the suggestion that like, oh, maybe like they send him to the World Juniors just to like be the captain of the team and just get that experience in the international stage, get more time. Well, he's not going anywhere, so it's just funny that looking back that was a suggestion of mine. But
Yeah, I think there's a
uh,
higher chance he is on the Olympic team, the World Junior team, which
yeah,
is
I know, and
another
everything is
conversation.
just these thoughts that we had are just so funny looking back. I mean, that's
Yeah,
how predictions go. They're not always right, but it's just funny. But yeah, he is kind of making a case. I don't think he ends up going. The
no,
only
I agree.
benefit I think would be is if they bring him as like their seventh or eighth defenseman and he doesn't play, but he gets the experience of being there because he's going to be a big piece of the next one. You got to think of him at 18 now. He'll be 22 at like that perfect age by the time the next Olympics roll around. And there's the World Cup teams that'll be, in the 2 years in between. So all these things are going to be a factor. But I guess while we're on the Team Canada subject, I wanted to bring it up before. Bo Horvat's playing his way into the conversation. And I think nobody brought his name up around league circles for him to be on Team Canada. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen either because the talk is around Celebrini, Nick Suzuki, and those guys are kind of the first ones out right now. So Horvat's going to have a lot to do, but he could do it all. It kills the penalties, like I said. Like he could play anywhere in that lineup effectively. So if he keeps up this pace, he's going to make it a conversation. I don't know when the rosters are due, but that would be fun.
Yeah, I mean they had Anthony Cirelli on their Four Nations team last season. Well, I could see Horvat playing a role like that on the Olympic team, defensively responsible. They have enough offensive firepower. They're not going to rely on him to be that goal scorer for them. He'll be on probably the fourth line if he makes it. Probably just center in that fourth line. You want him out there when you need against the other team's top line. Just want to shut him down. Just have don't want to have to worry about them in their own end. Like he can play that role that Sorelli played perfectly. And again, there's so many guys in that conversation. Like I think they had that I don't know, they had like 70 or 80 guys brought out like over the summer just as potentials. And I believe he was one of those guys. And he played in the World Championships before he got hurt this past year, so that was kind of a given he'd be at that big group. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely put himself in that conversation. I don't think he ends up getting on, unfortunately. But
Making it
that
close.
wouldn't be the worst thing. We saw what happened the last time we had a Canadian center play in the
Yeah,
Olympics.
let's not talk about that.
Yeah,
What about Sweden? Do we think that Emil Heinemann's playing his way in?
he might be.
I mean, Holmstrom too. It's I don't know where they stand as far as the Swedish roster goes, but
Yeah, like I don't know.
Holmstrom
I
was
don't know
supposed to
depth
play the
off the
World
top of my head.
Championships but bowed out. But I don't know. Holmstrom is a perfect fit because he's third line penalties.
He would be good. Yeah, I mean Heinemann I think is definitely in that conversation too. I'm not too familiar with what a fully Swedish lineup would look like as much as I am with Canada. But yeah, I mean I think they've both been solid. Holmstrom has looked better. He had a slow start, but he's definitely played better recently. Yeah, so I think they could both be in the mix. And yeah, like you said, I'm not sure when the rosters are due, when they'll. I guess all the stuff over the summer was kind of the preliminary skates. I guess just kind of get the guys comfortable if they don't know each other as well. But yeah, we'll see. It'll be again big change from the last couple of years. The last couple of years, who would you expect to be like on the Olympic team? Maybe Barzell. But even then,
He's
there's
not even on the list. He didn't even
yeah,
go to that camp.
yeah, like there's
So,
compared to a
which
couple of years
that's a
ago.
good transition because I think that's who we should talk about next.
Yeah.
Set your alarms, folks,
Yes.
because that's the story, which seemingly has been forgotten about. But he missed the bus in Carolina, so he was scratched for that game. And I don't know, he's been playing decent. I feel like he hasn't made a super big impact in some of these games.
Yeah, like he's been fine. He's skating, but yeah, like he really hasn't. There's that little stretch, after the first in season episode when they finally started winning, and he's great. He's scoring like he was noticeable every single night. Not that he's not noticeable now, because it's tough to not notice a guy who's as good a skater as he is. but yeah, he's definitely slowed down a little bit. I don't know his stats off the top of my head either.
He has
Um,
12 points in 14 games. Three of
okay,
those are
yeah.
goals.
So yeah, right there, around point per game. I think
Plus
honestly, I think
7, so
Barzal.
that's good.
What's up?
Plus 7.
Here we go. Good to see.
So
I feel like part of it might just be because he's not been playing. I know he had a couple games there with Horvat while you had Richie center in the second line. But we can get into him in a minute. But yeah, I mean Barzal, he's been fine. Hasn't been over the top, I guess, as you would, as we were hoping he might be. But again, like he has stretches like that, so I'm not worried about him. I think he'll look like himself again pretty soon. And yes, definitely remember to set your alarms. That was not
even with
fun.
that though, it feels like he hasn't done much. But in his last 5 games, he has 4 points. He's got a 3 game assist streak going right now, and I personally I think he's better on the wing. I don't. He's not the best face-off guy, and I think he's more effective offensively when doesn't have to worry about being so positionally sound at the center spot. And he has such a good skating ability that he could fly out of the zone. I've been saying this from when they did it the first time that he should be on the wing more. And I think it's perfect because it opens up the spot for Richie to play, who we'll talk about, like you said, in a sec. But I mean, there would be a spot open if Cizikas was out of the lineup, which I've been wanting to happen, but I don't expect to happen anytime soon. But Richie in that center spot, he's been okay. He hasn't really produced offensively. I feel like he's scared to like take some risks in the ozone and make that extra move or just rip the shot. I think he's passing it off. So a little timid in that regard, but his defensive game has been good. I think faceoffs he's been okay, maybe like 50-50 about. So you're liking the little things from him, and I think maybe the confidence will come when he scores a goal, when he has an assist, but he hasn't gotten one yet this year, and you know I don't think he's going to get sent back down, but you never really know with all the bodies. Max Shabanov's been out, which with his mystery injury that kind of just happened, and then we just didn't hear about him. But now he's going to be traveling with the team on this road trip, so maybe they do send him down. Obviously, different positions, wing, center, but they did put Richie on the wing though for a game or two, which I don't like. He needs to be playing center. You need to put him in a position where he's going to play. He has to play either second line or third line center. That's the only place he should be, or he should be in the AHL.
Yeah, yeah, I think they have him on the fourth line for tonight. And yeah, like obviously you like that he's getting he's getting those reps in the NHL. But if he's gonna be on the fourth line, like I would rather just have him playing on the top line of Bridgeport. Especially now you don't have to worry about Bridgeport. Like you don't have to worry about Bridgeport ruining him. Rocky Thompson, he's Rocky Thompson's a great coach. Like I'm not gonna act like I'm extremely familiar with, all like what exactly has changed down there. But all you hear is about how he's great. He's great with developing guys. Um, again, 2019 brought the Chicago Wolves to the Calder Cup final there. He knows what he's doing. He's been around long enough in the AHL. He knows what he's doing. And now there's more young talent in Bridgeport this year than past years. He's got more to work with there, and it's just so much more. The foundation is there, and you just don't have to. You don't have to send the guy down and then have to worry. Oh, is he gonna get ruined now because he's playing in Bridgeport? So now that you have that, you're comfortable with guys playing down in Bridgeport. I would not mind having Richie be the top line, not the first line center down there.
Way better than the fourth line in the NHL club. I mean, I feel like he barely played in that game against the Rangers.
Yeah.
And when he was
No.
out there, like, what is and the same thing like Sipaklov's buried there. He's not going to the AHL. Not that I'm saying that should happen. It's just that's a tough situation because I feel like he should be playing higher, but he just doesn't have the trust of the coach. And where are you going to put it? Like the other lines are playing so well right now that there's nowhere. There's like we said last episode, the middle sixers. There's too many spots
Yeah.
for all of these players to go. That are they going to trade somebody? Like I don't see like any resolution to this, and barring an injury, which we don't want to happen, because the team is at about a 500 record right now. Like they're out of it. Like the standings are so crazy. It's so close still that you know it's anything's possible really. They could be at the bottom or they could be a playoff team, and it's still early. And usually they say what American Thanksgiving is where you could kind of see where things are going to shake out. We still have about 2 weeks to go until that. But then again, it might be a little later than usual this year because it is still really close.
We, like you said, we have every winger pretty much the middle six guy, middle six quality guy. Shabanov has been out for quite some time now. It's been day to day this whole time is how they've described it. And I've seen some people saying it's probably a concussion. Kind of just one of those things. You just take it. One day you could be feeling great, one day you're feeling awful. So you just kind of want to see how he is over that time. Good sign to see him traveling with the team. But yeah, like, where do you put him? Like, obviously he's going back in the lineup. Where are you putting him? Like, it probably means Siplikov is getting scratched, which I was not a fan of having Siplikov scratched in favor of McLean for all those games. And then yeah, just Shabanov coming back again. You want him back. He doesn't like he's going to be playing. But who do you take out? And unfortunately, the answer is probably Siplikov. But if Richie stays on the fourth line, I don't think it'd be the worst thing to take Richie out. Again, send him down to Bridgeport, let him play on the first line there, and then that's how you open up that space for Shabanov when he finally returns.
Yeah, Shabanov's only played 6 games. He has a goal and 2 assists. And yeah, it's just an odd situation. For Siplikov, he's only gotten into 9 games. So he's played more than I thought, I guess. He has a goal. He had that one assisted by Warren in Philly. So yeah, I don't know what he's going to have to do to climb back up, but it seems like the top 9 is pretty set for right now, barring them playing poorly or something else going on. So I don't know. It's a weird situation. Just like things are like we thought, Heineman would be a fourth line guy. He's a first line guy. He's playing that well. He has 6 goals, so it's been a shock for all of us, but it's been great to see that he's scoring goals and just the way that they all play together. Like Pajot playing with Holmstrom, that's a great fit. I mean, he needs to get more respect too, just the way he's been playing. He's just so underrated all these years, and it's happening again this year. Just scoring goals left and right.
Yeah, he's been great. He's producing offensively again. I feel like there were a couple of years there where he just wasn't. He'd get chances, wouldn't bury his chances. It was really since that he had that wrist surgery. But yeah, I mean, last year he had a great year, and he's just picking up right where he left off last year. He's been very good. I still think that he's there's debate about whether or not they should trade Anders Lee. I think you have to trade Pajot because there's just the center market is so bare. There's gonna be so many contenders at the deadline that are looking for a good center, and kind of like Bo Horvat, Pajot does it all. Like obviously he's not gonna score as much as Horvat, but he's great defensively. Like he wins a face-off when you need him to. You put him on the second power play, he can kill penalties.
It's going to be so tough to see him go. It really is. But you have to do it. I just think because we have Richie, like you want him to play somewhere. You need to have spots for these guys. And, there's been a discussion on Twitter, like should they keep him maybe and try to extend him? It's like, yeah, I mean, obviously they're not going to lose him for nothing. I would like to. It's one of those things where it hurts, but I think you have to do it. And I think the people that haven't appreciated his game, you're going to see the effects similar to when Nick Leddy left and everyone was like, oh, we got to get rid of Nick Leddy, and then all of a sudden he's gone and things were a struggle. It might be growing pains. Like the Islanders might have a better year this year than they do next year, even though you think, oh, you're going to get more guys in. But when you have younger players, you have to sometimes take that step back with the growing pains. But it's a long gradual process. But Pajot, the last time he was traded, when he was traded to the Islanders, was his career year. He had 24 goals with Ottawa in 60 games that year. And last year he had 14 in 79 games. This year he's already has 5 in 15 games. So he's on a much higher pace than that. 6 assists, so 11 points in 15 games. This could be one of his best seasons of his career. At least it's on that pace so far. Him and Holmstrom, like I said before, really good duo together. And then just from there, it's shorthanded and in all situations really. So he's a guy to watch, but it's still early in the season where who knows how it plays out. Because if the Islanders are out of it, I think a couple guys are probably going, or at least going to be, talked about to go. Like a guy like Duclair, if he has a solid season, he could be traded. Drouin, he could be traded. And then that's where the spots come from. But again, they're still in it. And if they're in it, they're probably going to keep most of these guys. Even though last year they said they were in it, they still traded Brock Nelson. Like a guy who has an expiring deal like that, Pajot's probably gone regardless. But again, still early. But those other guys stay. So it's just, I don't know. There's so much to talk about and just so much of the season left. I'm getting ahead of myself right now. But I think you're happy with where the Islanders are and where some of these players are, especially the ones that seemingly had, declining, at least longer contracts that we thought they were declining, that are having, bounce back years, which I think is now a good time to transition to the defense. Ryan Pulock had a rough start to the year, first couple games. Now he's looked really good. And that's a guy with the long contract, probably the most talked about worst contract on the team via social media. And Pellick, another long one, he's looked pretty solid. And Romanov hasn't been great, but I think the new pairs that they showed off on Saturday have been a big boost.
I agree. Yeah, like I thought Romanov when he, that game in Carolina was, I believe that was his first game back. He looked solid. He had a big hit on Jackson Blake. He had another hit on Ehlers. So again, and like we've seen him still try to take those runs at guys. I don't remember who it was on the Rangers that he tried to hit. Like the physicality is still there for Romanov, but yeah, you can tell he just looks off. Like last year, he was so good. He got that big extension, and I had that game against Edmonton, which I believe was his last one before he got hurt. I thought he looked great. Like he had those first 3 games he struggled. Then he looked great against Edmonton, and then he was out for several weeks. So that was just that's unfortunate timing. But I'm still not worried about him. I believe he's going to bounce back. Whatever I don't even know exactly what the injury was, but you gotta hope it's not really lingering, not bothering him. And yeah, he's been back for a week now, so you expect sometime this week kind of really be fully comfortable again, be fully, back in game mode. It's tough when you're hurt for that long. Sometimes it takes you a little bit to get back into it. But now I think we're going to start seeing normal Alex Romanov.
And two thoughts on that. It's good that they decided let's just give him a week off and not force him early in the season. Just let's heal this thing. If it's nothing crazy, it's not like Scott Mayfield's like broken ankle where that's a long term time to sit out. But the other thought is Romanov's partner is very important in all this because we saw it with Noah Dobson, who seemingly gets mentioned every episode now, but that was a pair that did not work, and we thought that Dobson was dragging Romanov's defensive ability down. Now you put him with Tony DeAngelo to start the year, and the way DeAngelo plays is like a Dobson light. That he's an offensive defenseman who's gonna rush the puck up, and he's not very strong defensively and weaker. And it was disaster again. And that pair, I think, gave up 9 goals in 9 games. They were a complete disaster. But then you mix it around, and still doesn't look great. But then the pairs from Saturday were perfect. Schaefer, who's been with Mayfield most of the time, you give him Pollock, a similar defensive first guy that'll kind of hold down the fort for him and let him do whatever he wants. But obviously Schaefer's still going to be defensively sound. That pair works. I think they're trying to find that balance, and I think it might be a season-long thing where the pairs get stale and they might have to just switch them in and out a whole bunch of times every couple games or so just to keep things fresh, which I guess is fine. But right now, if this pair works for a game, roll it with the next one and then kind of see how it goes. And then you have to change. Oh well, but they've been getting that good mix. But yeah, Romanov, I think, like you said, will bounce back. If it's a long contract, so 8 years, the AAV is not crazy, so it's not gonna hurt you in that regard if he just ends up being a solid defenseman. But looking ahead to the future, he's not going to be your top pair guy. He's your top pair guy now because of the way the team is constructed. But Schaefer's going to be that number one defenseman, and you have all the prospects in the system that you're also kind of expecting Keyshawn Aitchison to maybe be a top 4 guy. So then where does that leave Romanov? You're paying $6 million to your third pair guy, maybe with the way the cap goes and with it continuously going up, or maybe he's expendable, or somebody else is, or somebody switches to the right. All questions that have to be answered down the road, but at least for this season, you're starting to see that slight improvement coming back from the injury, so you can only hope that it continues to get better from there. If not, then we got to have another discussion on the next show.
We touched on Sorokin earlier. He looks like himself, so we'll see how that kind of continues over time. The team's going to make again, like we were talking about the deadline earlier, right? I think Pajot is a guy that has to go regardless, but that decision's probably a little tougher depending on how close they are to that making the playoffs. And Sorokin is going to he's probably the biggest factor in that. It's like, yeah, the offense looks better, right? The team's scoring way more than they have in past years. But being able to have that, that reliable goaltending. Like even last year, there were times last year where he just didn't look right, Sorokin. Giving up bad goals, giving up, 4 goals in a game, right? If he can stay, like it was like again, I'm just repeating what we said earlier pretty much. That Washington game, 1 goal and the shutout against the Rangers, right? If he can just have just solid performances night in, night out. You don't have to worry about like he started the year off where it was like 5 straight games allowing 4 goals.
And then steal a game once in a while, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So if you can just be solid, maybe like 2 or 3 goals a game, right? with occasionally a shutout or one goal. This team is going to be way closer. I don't even think they would be, like, they'll be in the wild card area, right? But I would not be shocked to see them at third in the Metro. And I know a lot of people are probably going to disagree with me on that. And I'm not saying it's going to happen. But if Sorokin keeps playing how he's been playing, and everyone else is just keeps rolling as they've been, I think this team has a chance at finishing third in the Metro.
And big shouts to David Riddick, who's been huge. He's won a couple games too, so he's playing a part in this team's success. And they're sitting at 7-6-1 right now, so it's still very like they're 7-6-2, I think, right? Yeah, it's still very early in the season, so we don't know if they're a good or a bad team. We know they're fun. We know they're kind of all over the place. I think now, I mean, I still think the playoffs are attainable, but just with the sample size, I'm more inclined to say more on the bad side, not like bottom of the league bad, but I think just about 500 finishing, which I guess would mean obviously they're outside the playoffs. But again, it's because every other night it's sometimes like they'll win they have a great game, but then they'll have like a stinker. So it's still tentative what's going to happen, but if they're in it and they trade Pajot, which they're probably going to have to, it's going to kind of hurt the room a little bit if we're in it and you feel like you want to make the team better. But again, you have to look for the long term future, which we'll I'm sure discuss many times. There's no reason to worry about that now. Just worry about winning games. But just looking ahead before we wrap things up is just there's 6 more games on this road trip. The 7-game road trip. There's 2 7-game road trips this season, which I feel both feel very long to have 2 that long. But this one, they got the first one against the Rangers. They play New Jersey tonight, as this will probably be out, during that game, like I mentioned earlier. But then it's a bunch of teams that are playing really well. They head out west more. They have, I believe, Dallas is in there, Utah's in there, Vegas is in there. So good teams that are playing well, and it's going to be a good test for them on the road. Good to get away for about 2 weeks before they return home on the 22nd of November to play St. Louis, but to kind of see where they're at. If they could hang with these teams, like what, this is a team that can make the playoffs, and if they kind of falter, then yeah, they're good teams, but you think you'll know that what, maybe we'll steal one here or there, but this will be a team just outside the playoffs. So big test coming up these next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I agree. And as you said, probably right around 500 is the most likely outcome for this team. But again, I think they'll be in the mix for the majority of the season. Once the deadline hits, when we assume Pajot will be gone, that's things can change a lot there. Obviously, a big part of that is how Cal Reggie does, assuming he slides into that third line center spot. But yeah, I mean, there's a direction now, which again, big change from the past. So you're okay with that. Like you're okay with, again, like I don't want to be bottom of the barrel, right? But you're okay with the direction that this team is going in. Fun to watch. You're seeing the promise every night, and it's just this is the first step. Next year's gonna be the next step, and then eventually this is all gonna pay off, and you'll be looking back on this season and be like, yeah, it wasn't the best, but it was the start. So again, only time will tell. But
Definitely a good way to look at things. But yeah, it's been fun 2 weeks to watch these games. Frustrating at times, of course, but a lot to like. The offense playing well, scoring goals, but hoping to have a little more consistency in regards to that. But I think that's a good place to wrap it up. Like I said, we're in the middle of this 7-game road trip, 6 games to go. Islanders sitting at 7-6-2, just a few spots out of a playoff position, but again, way early for that. But still holding their own and having some good vibes around the team. But make sure to follow us on mess that up. But to wrap things up here, follow us at On Isles Time on X, Instagram, and TikTok at ONISLESTIME. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for the video version and listen to the podcast on Apple and Spotify. For Brendan Yerkes and Cole Healy, this was On Isles Time. Thank you so much for tuning in.